Hello there, RC. I'm going to do another video on facilities. Specifically, I'll be doing this one on fortifications. And just so you can see, I'm using the D-Day pillboxes to signify fortifications. They're already on the map, but they're a little difficult to see. So facilities represent important infrastructure in a zone. They can be built without the presence of a factory. Most facilities are considered to have inherent anti-aircraft guns that defend them against strategic bombing. The reason it says most is some, like a fortification, can't be strategic bombed, so it doesn't have any built-in AA because you can't bomb it. And most facilities can be damaged, yeah. And most facilities can be captured, but you cannot capture forts. So again, the reason it says most in the rules is because of fortifications specifically. So a fortification represents major defense networks established to prevent invasion. Forts are placed on the border of a land zone and protect from attack across that border. So let's use a quick example here. Let's zoom out a little bit here for you. We have Portugal. The border of the land zone of Portugal is where you place it. So if you wanted to protect Portugal from Leon Castile, you just put one over there and it protects from Leon Castile. It won't cover that one. You're going to need another fortification to cover from that side. And then if you want to do the 2C zones, you got to do that as well. So on some zones it gets really expensive trying to build fortifications. But these fortifications, if somebody takes over Portugal after attacking these forts, they're all wiped out. Even if this one wasn't there and they attacked across the border here without a fort, these forts would be also wiped off the map. All right, so you cannot capture. If you capture the zone that has a fort, the fort disappears. Even if it's already printed on the map. You'd have to build your own new one after the fact. All right. They may not be damaged, as I said, by strategic bombing. You cannot bomb a fort. All right. And you can't blitz into it. So here's another example. You have a fort here in Gibraltar. You can blitz out, but you can't blitz in to a fort. All right. And a fort does not give you a bonus on top of the other one. You get a defensive bonus for the fort, and you get a defensive bonus for the city. They actually have an example in the rule book. I don't know if this is still going to be here in the rule book, but a fortification gives +2 to all defending land units, specified as land units. So any land unit that is currently posted in the same zone as the fort where it's being crossed. And it also has 2 shots of its own. So even if you don't have any land units in here, the fort itself will have 2 shots on round 1. They're at 5 and they're both first strike. So that's a handy thing to know. Even if you build a fort and you don't have any units at all, this will give you 2 shots all by itself. And they're first strike. But the city bonus gives you +1 to the units, but since this bonus is on round 1 is +2 and the city's +1, you'd probably pick the +2. And then on round 2, the fort bonus is gone. So then you would pick the city bonus of +1, right? It's one or the other. Just like my video on you can't add up bonuses together. All right, there's special fortification zones. These are areas that are so small that a single fortification or coastal artillery protects the entire zone regardless of how many land or sea zones they border. The rule book specifies these specifically. Honestly, none of this is any different from version 2 so far. Some of these special locations may be, but all islands that are not part of home country of a major power. Now the only islands that are home country to a major power, right, are the island of Great Britain here. So if you built the fortification here, it doesn't cover all directions, right? Same with there, same with there. You'd have to build one on each zone like I showed you with Portugal. Right? You'd also have to build one on the border that crosses between each location. Another location here is you have some, this is an island separate from this one, but it is home country. See, that's not a special fortification area, and neither is the rest of this island as well. Right? So, as I said, you'd have to build one on each border from each of those zones. However, here's a couple of examples of islands that are not part of the home country. We've got here Sardinia. So if you had a fort that you built in Sardinia, it would protect from all directions. So it would protect you from C-Zone 49, from C-Zone 50, and from C-Zone 80 if somebody attacked from any of those directions, or all at once. The fort would protect you on round one. Another special location is all cities. So anything that's a city, I'm just going to zoom in or back here a little bit, is anything that's shown as a circle on the map or a partial circle like Gibraltar here. So they both count as a city. So if there's a fort that you built in Sardinia or in Madrid here, this fort would protect you from all neighboring land zones. And if you built it in Gibraltar, it would protect you from all neighboring land zones and both neighboring sea zones. All right, because it's a special fortification area. For some reason, they list Gibraltar as well, even though Gibraltar is a city. But there you go. Gibraltar's just like any other city, signified by the circle. All right. Panama. Panama does not have a fortification, but Panama is right here. So if it had a fort or a coastal gun, it would protect on both directions, and it would protect from both directions of land attack. It's specifically listed as that. The other ones are British Malay and Crimea. So British Malay is over here at the bottom of, right below, beside Siam here. So if you attack from Siam, you'd be protected by the fort, C-Zone 88 or C-Zone 122. All right, and Crimea as well, the same thing applies, even though it's not a city and it's not an island, it's a peninsula. But you would be protected from the land zone and the sea zone as well if you got attacked at that fort. All right, so that's basically how forts work. Now I'm going to show you I'm going to do a quick buzz over and show you all the forts in the game. There is one, it took me a while to find some of them because let's take a look since we're here on Crimea. As you can see, Crimea is really busy. It's got a lot of stuff going on in here. But you can see this kind of jagged line around Crimea. That's the depiction that the game uses to show a fort. It's a little hard to see because there's so many things like the income, the roundel, the city name, the bases, the name of the location. So I'm using these things here just to signify the forts. So yeah, Crimea's got a fort, and since we're right here in Russia, let's jump up here to Leningrad. And you can see that Leningrad has a fort that goes all the way around. It's also a city, so it's protected from all directions, land or sea. And then across the way here, it's really not that easy to see because of that marsh. And this is one of those examples of where terrain and fort don't add up. But on this side of the border of Karelia, there's a fort there. This one does not exist. But if you wanted to, you'd have to build a separate fort to block Karelia. Karelia is over here. Sorry, I'm probably butchering it. I'm definitely not Finnish. So that would be an example of needing to have more than one fort on the border. So those are two examples of forts that are in the game. Another one that kind of surprised me is, let's turn this down a little bit so we can look right at them. You can see Prussia, East Prussia here has a fort that goes all the way around, so it's protected from all directions, from sea and land. So if you attack East Prussia from anywhere, you're attacking a fort. All right. I already covered British Malay here. You have the city of Tobruk in the Mediterranean. This one also has a fort. It's kind of hard to see because they have these shadows on the borders here, so it's really hard to see this one. It's really blends in with the shadow here, kind of like how it does in Gibraltar. And they didn't put it on this side for some reason. But Tobruk does have a fortification printed on the map. So this city would be protected from amphibious assault and land assault from here or here with its fort. Gibraltar has a fort. This one's, as I said, it's very difficult to see on this outer edge. But it's much easier to see. It's printed on the coast on this one here, so it's easier to see. And then the final one is you have the Maginot Line in France. And this is a special fort. If you look on the French sheet in the France overview, they got the Maginot Line described here. It protects from invasion from Bavaria. They took Lithuania out in this version 3 map, so it's no longer protects from there as well. All land units attacking across the line suffer double casualties on the first round of combat. So just like a Navy amphibious assault, if you get one hit, you lose two units. That's only land units, though. It doesn't apply to your aircraft. The Maginot Line provides 2 first strike attacks at 6. So all the other forts are at 5. This one is 2 at 6. And defending land units get +3 defense on the first round of combat, whereas all other fortifications give you +2. Now, France also has this weird thing where it has a demilitarized border, which is very unfortunate for the French player, but very fortunate for the German. You're not allowed to build a fortification on the border with Belgium. Because if you did, any Germans that attack through Belgium into Picardy would not be able to blitz, right? So let's just zoom this out a little bit. So if the Germans couldn't blitz through here and they couldn't blitz through here, they'd have to take this place and then be able to blitz around, right? So it would slow them down. They wouldn't be able to blitz into Paris from both directions. All right, but you're not allowed to build this one here, which is unfortunate for you. All right, so there you go. And a couple of other crazy things you could do, right? If you're Russia and you think you're going to get blitzed on here, you think the Germans are coming, because these are cities and they have the city bonus, you could build a couple of forts in here, and that would protect it from attack in all directions, even from behind at both these cities, right? Which kind of acts as a blocker, which allows you to then build further forts if you're so inclined on that side, and this side, and this side, and you can continue on, right? You'd find a few spots to build a fort. You don't have to. They're expensive. They're $10 each, so it adds up in a hurry. But it's something to consider if you got some extra money and you're just farting around. Maybe, for example, if you're Russian, the Japanese are coming. This is a city here. Throw that down. Now you got a fort, and it's protected from all directions. Not a horrible thought. All right. So yeah, there's different things you can do with a fort. Now, if you really want to get excited, you could build an Atlantic wall. But the problem with this is this map is slightly changed from version 2, whereas Normandy didn't go into three sea zones. It used to only go into 2, but they stretched it out into this one. So at this location, you would actually have to build 3 forts to protect it from amphibious assault. 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, 1 there. Man, I'm going to run out of forts in a second here. 1 there, and then throw 1 in Denmark, if you take Denmark. That's a lot of forts. You're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 forts. That's $90. That's a little excessive. I don't think that's probably something you're going to do. But you never know if you're sitting around and you got lots of money, and, you know, maybe you will. We'll see. Anyway, that's a couple thoughts. The British can do the same thing if they think sea lions coming. Throw 1 in the city. It's protected from all directions. You'd have to build 1 over here, 1 over here, 1 over here, and 1 over here, and then another 1 over there just to protect the British Midlands. It attaches to that many sea zones. But, you know, it's something. It's a thought. Right? Anyhow, that's forts. I've kind of beaten this horse to death. So, fortifications cannot be strategically bombed. They can be built, but you can only have 1 on each border. There are special zones where they protect all borders. They're a facility just like all the other facilities, so you don't need a factory to build them. And that's about it. I'm gonna that totally exhausts my talk on forts. So RC's here saying thanks for watching and see you later. Enjoy that game.